In this on-demand tutorial, we will be reviewing how to capture internalizing behaviors within the CANS. We will begin by reviewing what an internalizing behavior is. A well-known distinction of psychopathological problems in child psychiatry and psychology is that of externalizing versus internalizing disorders. While externalizing behaviors are displayed outwardly and are reflected by behaviors towards the physical environment, internalizing disorders are directed inward and are indicative of a child's psychological and emotional state. By their nature, internalizing dynamics can be much more difficult to identify and assess. Externalizing disorders, such as conduct disorder, aggression, and violence, clearly have a negative impact on the environment and on others. But internalizing disorders can be harmful as well. In this presentation, we will be examining CANS items that capture internalizing dynamics and work to score them accurately and consistently. The overlap between internalizing and externalizing disorders can be common. For example, children with internalizing disorders can also negatively affect their peers, siblings, and parents. Children displaying externalizing behaviors may also have some internal issues as well. However, despite this overlap, it is useful to assess these dynamics within the CANS to develop targeted services and treatment plans for the youth. There are 8 CANS items that we will be looking at to capture internalizing behaviors. They include 14, adjustment to trauma, 15, traumatic grief separation, 17, avoidance, 18, numbing, 19, dissociation, 50, depression, 51, anxiety, and 59, somatization. The first item we will look at is number 14, adjustment to trauma. This item looks at the youth's reaction to any of the traumatic experiences they may have had. This is a cause and effect item and describes how the child is currently adjusting to trauma experienced previously. A child who's displaying internalizing behaviors may experience nightmares, intrusive thoughts, hypervigilance, constant anxiety, and other common symptoms of PTSD. Looking at the rating scale for number 14, adjustment to trauma, we see that a 1 is indicating that the child may have an adjustment disorder or other reactions that might ease with the passage of time, or the child might be recovering from a more extreme reaction to a traumatic experience. Remember, this is that watchful waiting place. As we move into a 2 and become actionable, the child has marked adjustment problems associated with traumatic experiences. The child might be having nightmares or other notable symptoms of adjustment difficulties. And a 3, the child has post-traumatic stress difficulties as a result of the traumatic experience. Symptoms may include intrusive thoughts, hypervigilance, constant anxiety, and other common symptoms of PTSD. The next item is number 15, traumatic grief separation. This item is describing the level of traumatic grief due to the death or loss or separation from significant caregivers, siblings, or other significant figures, such as grandparents, etc. A child who is displaying internalizing behaviors may withdraw or isolate from others, and these behaviors may impair functioning in some areas of their life. Looking at the item levels for 15, traumatic grief separation, again, the 1 being the watchful waiting, is a child that has experienced some level of traumatic grief due to death or loss of significant person or distress from caregiver separation in a manner that is appropriate given the recent nature of the loss or separation. 2, moving into that actionable item, is a child experiencing a moderate level of grief or difficulty with separation in a manner that impairs functioning in some but not all areas. This could include withdrawal or isolation from others. And a 3, the child is experiencing significant traumatic grief or separation. The child is exhibiting impaired function across several areas. Examples include interpersonal relationships, school, etc., for a significant period of time following the loss or separation. Number 17, avoidance. These symptoms include efforts to avoid stimuli associated with traumatic experiences. These symptoms are part of the DSM criteria for PTSD. A child who's displaying internalizing behaviors may avoid thoughts, feelings, conversations, activities, places, or people associated with trauma or that arouse recollection of a trauma. An example may be a child who experienced some community violence on his way home from school. Now that same child will walk a longer distance around to avoid that area after that traumatic experience. The item levels for number 17, avoidance, include 1, a child who's exhibiting some avoidance. This child may exhibit one primary avoidance symptoms, including efforts to avoid thoughts, feelings, or conversations associated with the trauma. A 2, a child with moderate symptoms of avoidance. In addition to avoiding thoughts or feelings associated with the trauma, the child may also avoid activities, places, or people that arouse recollections of the trauma. And a 3, a child who exhibits significant or multiple avoidance symptoms. They may avoid thoughts and feelings as well as situations and people associated with the trauma and be unable to recall important aspects of that trauma. That is the important distinction between a 2 and 3, is that a 3, they are also unable to recall important aspects of the trauma. Number 18, numbing. These symptoms could be part of a DSM criteria for PTSD. These responses were not present before the trauma. A child who's displaying internalizing behaviors may have a restricted range of effect. They may feel detached or estranged, or may have lost interest or participation in activities. The rating levels for number 18, numbing, include 1, a child who exhibits some problems with numbing. They may have a restricted range of effect or be unable to express or experience certain emotions such as anger or sadness. A 2 is a child with moderately severe numbing responses. They may have a blunted or flat emotional state or have difficulty experiencing intense emotions or feelings of consistently detached or estranged from others following the traumatic experience. And a 3 level is a child with significant numbing responses or multiple symptoms of numbing. They may have a markedly diminished interest or participation in significant activities and a sense of foreshortened future. Number 19, dissociation. A child who is displaying internalizing behaviors may experience daydreaming, spacing, or blanking out, forgetfulness, fragmentation, detachment, and rapid changes in personality, often associated with traumatic events. Looking at the item levels for number 19, dissociation, we see that a 1 is a child with minor dissociative problems, including some emotional numbing, avoidance, or detachment, and some difficulties with forgetfulness, daydreaming, spacing, or blanking out. A child with moderate level of dissociation would be a 2. This could include amnesia for traumatic experiences or inconsistent memory for trauma. Examples would include remembering in one context but not another. More persistent or perplexing difficulties with forgetfulness, such as losing things easily, forgetting basic information, frequent daydreaming or trance-like behavior, depersonalization and or derealization. They would also meet the criteria for dissociative disorder not otherwise specified, or another diagnosis that is specified with dissociative features. And a 3 is a child with severe dissociative disturbances. This can include significant memory difficulties associated with trauma that also impede day-to-day functioning. The child is frequently forgetful or confused about things that they should know about. For example, no memory for activities or whereabouts of previous day or hours. The child also shows rapid changes in personality or evidence of distinct personalities. A child who meets criteria for dissociative identity disorder or a more severe level of dissociative disorder, NOS, would be rated here. Number 50, depression. A child who's displaying internalizing behaviors may be irritable or have a depressed mood, social withdrawal, sleep disturbances, weight or eating disturbances, and loss of motivation. They may meet criteria for DSM diagnosis of depressive disorder or bipolar disorder. The item levels for number 50 depression include 1, a child with mild emotional problems, brief duration of depression, irritability, or impairment of peers, family, or academic functioning that does not lead to gross avoidant behavior. A 2 is a child with moderate level of emotional disturbance. Any diagnosis of depression would be coded here. This level is used to rate children who meet the criteria for an affective disorder listed above. And a 3 is a child with a severe level of depression. This would include a child who stays at home or in bed all day due to depression, or one whose emotional symptoms prevent any participation in school, friendship groups, or family life. Disabling forms of depressive diagnosis would be coded here. This level indicates an extreme case of one of the disorders listed above. 51, anxiety. This describes a child's level of fearfulness, worrying, and other characteristics of anxiety. A child who's displaying internalizing behaviors may display an anxious mood or be fearful, and these feelings may interfere with their functioning. The item levels in 51 anxiety include 1, a history or suspicion of anxiety problems or mild to moderate anxiety associated with a recent negative life event. This level is used to rate either a mild phobia or anxiety problem or a sub-threshold level of symptoms for the other listed disorders. A 2, moving into the actionable items, is a clear evidence of anxiety associated with either anxious mood or significant fearfulness. Anxiety has interfered significantly in the child's ability to function in at least one life domain. And a 3 is a clear evidence of debilitating level of anxiety, making it virtually impossible for the child to function in any life domain. The final item we'll look at is 59, somatization. Symptoms include the presence of recurrent physical complaints without apparent physical cause or conversion like phobia. A child who's displaying internalizing behaviors may experience headaches, stomach problems, or pain without medical cause. These problems may be interfering with their functioning. Again, looking at item levels for 59, somatization. A 1 is a child with mild level of somatic problems. This could include occasional headaches, stomach problems such as nausea or vomiting, joint, limb, or chest pain without medical cause. A 2 is a child with a moderate level of somatic problems or the presence of symptoms without a medical cause or the presence of severe different physical symptoms. They may meet the criteria for somatoform disorder. Additionally, the child could manifest any conversion symptoms such as pseudo-seizures or paralysis. And 3, a child with severe somatic symptoms causing significant disturbance in school or social functioning. This could include significant and varied somatic disturbances without medical cause. We will now review some practice items. How would you rate number 14, adjustment to trauma? Diego finally opens up to you that no matter what he is doing, he cannot block out thoughts of being sexually abused by his uncle. He cannot focus on his schoolwork or pay attention in class. He cannot play video games or even eat a meal without thoughts and images from the abuse popping up in his mind. The preferred score on this item would be a 3. Child has post-traumatic stress difficulties as a result of traumatic experience. Symptoms may include intrusive thoughts, hypervigilance, constant anxiety, and other common symptoms of PTSD. How would you rate number 15, traumatic grief separation? Charlotte's grandmother died in a tragic car accident 6 weeks ago on her 10th birthday. Her grandmother lived with Charlotte and her family for the past 3 years. They were very close and would cook, dance, and sing with each other all of the time. Charlotte has been refusing to leave her grandmother's room except to go to school. She won't talk or interact with any other family members. She has become sullen and wants to go be with her grandmother. The preferred score for this example is a 3. The child is experiencing significant traumatic grief or separation reaction. The child exhibits impaired functioning across several areas for a significant period of time following the loss or separation. How would you rate number 17, avoidance? Tim's mother has told you that after being robbed by several teens at the park, he will no longer go out and play. He has quit the baseball team and has to be driven to and from school or he has a panic attack. He won't talk about the events with anyone, even his favorite aunt, despite remembering every aspect of the situation. The preferred score on this example is a 2. This rating is given to a child with moderate symptoms of avoidance. In addition to avoiding thoughts or feelings associated with the trauma, the child may also avoid activities, places, or people that arouse recollections of the trauma. How would you rate number 18, numbing? Josie reported to you that she had been touched inappropriately at school by an older youth on 2 occasions. She reports that she is angry at the youth for his actions and knows she didn't do anything wrong. However, she has not been able to feel angry or sad about the situation. She used the words blank and empty to describe how she feels about the situation. The preferred score for this item is a 1. This rating is given to a child who exhibits some problems with numbing. This child may have a restricted range of effect or be unable to express or experience certain emotions, such as anger or sadness. How would you score number 19, dissociation? Sam has many concerning effects of being violently beaten by his father documented on his file. One oddity is that Sam swears that it was his older brother that beat him, despite eyewitnesses that it was his father, and his brother was living in another state at the time of the assault. He has shared with you that he feels like he's living in a dream all the time, and he wonders if everyone is real. He doesn't say these things out loud anymore to his family to avoid conflict and stress. The preferred score for this item would be a 2. This rating is given to a child with moderate dissociative disturbances. This can include amnesia for traumatic experiences or inconsistent memory for trauma, more persistent or perplexing difficulties with forgetfulness, frequent daydreaming or trance-like behavior, depersonalization and/or derealization. This rating would be used for someone who meets criteria for dissociative disorder not otherwise specified, or other diagnosis that is specified with dissociative features. For additional CANS scoring support, please visit our website at https://sites.northwestern.edu/CANS. You can also contact Shannon Kroll, Emma Breen, or Rob Herquest at the email addresses listed on your screen.